14,000 years ago, giant Shasta ground sloths roamed southwestern North America. These ancient mammals ate Joshua tree seeds and are credited with their dispersal. Today, Joshua trees grow throughout the Mojave Desert. My name is Lara Kobelt, a master's student in the forestry department at Northern Arizona University, and I will be talking to you about the spatial patterns, stand dynamics, and the future of Joshua trees in the western U.S. Joshua trees are a yucca species in the Agavaceae plant family. Their scientific name is Yucca brevifolia, which is now recognized as being made up of two subspecies. Similar to the trunks of palm trees, the long stalk of the Joshua tree is made up of many scattered vascular bundles throughout the trunk, which means that the trunk is not actually true wood. The leaves and bundles at the ends of multiple branches are triangular, fleshy, and pointed. The branches curve in every direction, but many trees look as if their arms are held up in a welcoming gesture. After sufficient winter rain, large, creamy white flowers bloom at the ends of the branches. The Joshua tree flowers are pollinated by several species of moths. This symbiotic relationship is one of the most interesting in the Southwest. The moths pollinate the flowers and then lay eggs inside most, but not all of the seeds, and the resulting caterpillars feed on the developing seeds. This allows the Joshua tree to have some offspring while still supporting the moth. The only partner missing from this mutualism is the now extinct Shasta ground sloth, as mentioned previously. The new dispersal mechanism of seeds appears to be undertaken by antelope ground squirrels. These small desert mammals cache Joshua tree seeds, which can then germinate from their position under the soil. However, antelope ground squirrels do not travel as much as their prehistoric counterparts, and so Joshua tree seeds stay close to their parent trees. This limits the dispersal of genes throughout the habitat of Joshua trees. The distribution of the Joshua tree defines the borders of the Mojave Desert, which stretches throughout parts of northwestern Arizona, southwestern Utah, southern Nevada, California, and Baja California in Mexico. Specific heat and moisture requirements limit their occurrence. Typical habitats for Joshua trees are on gently sloping alluvial fans extending from the bases of their dramatic mountain ranges characteristic of this desert. The soils they grow on are silty and sandy, or loamy. You are likely to find other yucca species, blackbrush, four-winged saltbush, and sagebrush growing alongside the Joshua tree. At higher elevations, Joshua tree growth is limited by cold temperatures, while at low elevations, growth is limited by soils that are too fine and unable to retain sufficient water. Let's now discuss the stand dynamics and stand characteristics of Joshua trees. Because Joshua trees do not have true wood, it is much harder to figure out how old they are. In a normal tree, we can take tree cores and count tree rings to figure out how many years a tree has been alive. With Joshua trees, some researchers have used height as a predictor of age, which seems to be relatively reliable. In a study of this species, authors found that in a stand of 69 Joshua trees, the trees were between 20 to 300 years old. This is really old. Most of the trees were between 20 and 100 years old, with about a tenth of the population older than 100 years. A concerning observation from this study is that there are few young trees in this population. Substantial winter rains drive flower production and seed germination of Joshua trees in the desert. It is therefore expected to see large cohorts of Joshua tree seedlings only periodically. However, lack of regeneration for extended periods of time likely signals the increasingly drying climate of the Southwest. Joshua tree seeds, after being carried off and buried by desert rodents, are more likely to survive as small plants if they are growing under a few specific shrub species. Burrowbush, blackbrush, spiny hopsage, and rhatany were all found to support Joshua tree germination and seedling survival. These tough desert shrubs create favorable microclimates that increase moisture, help keep temperatures stable, and generally protect small Joshua trees. These effects are particularly prominent at the ecological limits of the Joshua tree, where a little bit of help early in life can help these desert icons to establish and survive for generations. Desert plants are smart plants. Joshua trees are no exception. Studies have shown that their leaves are placed such that the maximum amount of sunlight hits them at the best time of day for photosynthesis. In the hot, dry desert, morning is the best time for photosynthesis. Plants open their leaf pores in order to respire and photosynthesize, and in the morning it is still cool enough that if the plant doesn't lose as much water to evaporation as it would at noon. Therefore, the leaves of Joshua trees are arranged in a way that allows the morning sun to touch as much surface area as possible. Will Joshua trees be around in the future? This is a sad but realistic question. Climate change is predicted to affect the desert Southwest dramatically. Warming temperatures and decreased rainfall in our region will threaten the long-term survival of Joshua trees. Drought affects smaller Joshua trees first, but long-term drought eventually starts killing the more resistant, older trees. Habitat further north that is currently too cold for Joshua tree survival will probably become suitable for their growth in the near future. However, without seed dispersers to move the seeds long distances, such as the Shasta ground sloth, the Joshua tree has no natural means to disperse to new locations. However, there is a new seed dispersal agent now: humans. Some scientists have discussed trying to move Joshua trees more northward as the climate changes in order to help the species to persist. Other anthropogenic changes, such as invasive species introductions, threaten the persistence of the Joshua tree in its current habitat. Cheatgrass, an invasive grass that thrives in the desert, carries in natural fires through Joshua tree forests. Joshua trees are not adapted to fire, so they burn very quickly and do not regenerate easily. Even a mild burn will kill most Joshua trees. What can we do for the present? Visit your nearest natural area and appreciate Joshua trees in their current habitat. Appreciate their tenacity for survival and wow your friends with your new knowledge. Thanks for tuning in.